Welcome to the Family Life TV show. They say raising up teenagers can be an uphill task. The psychology says that the teenagehood stage is a stage of storm and stress. But also the Bible says, train up a child in the way that it should go so that when they are old, they will not depart from it. Meaning, if you've been training your child during the formative years, then when they're teenagers, they will not depart from those ways. Well, that's just from me. Welcome to the studio today, and today I'm joined with some amazing parents of teenagers, and we're going to discuss how to raise teenagers during the pandemic. So if you're a parent of a teenager, pull up your seat closer, take a cup of tea, and join me on set as we discuss raising teenagers during the pandemic. Karibuni. Praise God, family. Welcome to the Family Life TV show. My name is Ann Kariuki, and today on set I'm joined by wonderful parents of teenagers. First and foremost, I'd like them to introduce themselves and tell us what they do and how many children they have. Karibuni sana.
Asante. Praise God. My name is Fleria Wangira. Love the Lord as my personal savior. I like my name in the kingdom. I'm known as DC, Devil Crusher. I am a mother of many and a grandmother. I have 7 children. You must be wondering what happened. And a grandmother of 8 and still counting.
Wow.
I'm a mother, a wife, a professional. I'm a part-time lecturer at the University of Nairobi School of Business. And I'm also a business lady. So I'm happy to be together with you in this program. Thank you.
Wow. Karibu sana, Fleria. Wow, I didn't know that you had 8 grandchildren.
Yes.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to our show.
Asante.
Karibu sana.
Thank you so much. Good evening, our viewers. I want to introduce myself. My name is Osundwa Ignatius. I am a father, a husband. I'm not like my sister. I'm yet to get there. And I thank God I'm a father of 4 and a father of many in the ministry. And I want to thank God that we're here to share about raising our young men and women. Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you, Karibu sana, Rev Sundwa. So let's start. We are talking today about raising teenagers during the pandemic. I'm curious, how was it for you raising your teenagers? First of all, how many teenagers do you have?
Currently, I have the last born who turned 13. Mm-hmm. The rest are grown-ups. Mm-hmm. And in the house, I have the brother, the one that she follows. Mm-hmm. So the last born is 13, mm-hmm. and the brother is 23.
Okay.
So raising teenagers is challenging in the normal circumstance. Mm-hmm. But now the pandemic changed the matrix. Mm-hmm. And during this particular stage is a stage of identification, they want to get self-identity. Mm-hmm. They want to explore. There's the issue of sexuality. Mm-hmm. And most of the time in the normal circumstance, they are able to get this a lot from social networks. Mm-hmm. So during the pandemic, this was cut off. Mm-hmm. Because one of the requirements was that we stay indoors.
Yes.
And the second thing was the issue of social distancing. Mm-hmm. So that changed the matrix in terms of raising teenagers. So despite the fact that I have raised other teenagers previously, this was new to me. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I did is to be able to, I had to identify myself with the prevailing situation.
Yes.
And given that the first challenge was the confined space, mm-hmm. my daughter was not supposed to live and be able to mix with her age mates.
Yes.
So I had to contain her within the 4 walls of the house. Mm-hmm. And be able to satisfy the issue of, remember also at this particular time, their mind is really developing.
Yes.
So they are not children and they're not adults. And this is a phase whereby there are so many questions. Unlike previously when they take your instructions to the letter, this is a phase whereby they question.
Yes.
They want to ask why. When you say do 1, 2, 3, they want an explanation why. So one thing that how I was able to navigate the way around, I also did a lot of reading. I wouldn't say it also came just like that. Is the issue of sexuality. How I dealt with that. Remember, I've just mentioned that I have a son who is 23 years.
Yes.
And of course, the father. During this particular time, there's the hormonal, the body is changing.
Yes.
And the girl is forming to become a woman.
Yes.
So those body changes comes with challenges. So whereas in normal circumstances, we normally caution the girls to watch out for men out there, we always forget to give the same caution in the house. We are aware that there are so many cases of very unfortunate of rape cases, fathers defiling their own daughters. And during this pandemic, I think we can be able to remember there's a case actually that was highlighted whereby a mother who had 2 daughters and a son discovered that the 2 daughters were pregnant, despite the fact that they were within the house, they were not going out. And upon discussing with them to find out who was behind this, who caused this, it was very devastating that it was the brothers, incest. So I had to caution my daughter that, well, we are confined in these 4 walls, but because of the changes in her body, I told her to be able to take caution from any man. So anytime she'll be in the room, the brother's room, for purposes of playing some games on the laptop and all that, she knew that the brother still is a man with feelings, So it was important so that, yes, we discuss the changes in the body, and I cautioned her so that just when you leave it blank like that, anything could happen. That was one. And the other thing that I did was the issue of keeping her busy. At this particular age, they have a lot of energy.
Absolutely.
A lot of energy. And if you don't get activities to be able to take care of that energy, then that's when they do their discoveries and all that. So personally, we had a discussion with her, and apparently these children, they're not like the days we're being raised. So you don't just wake up and say, can we cook? You engage, that I would want us to learn to cook, and she must be involved.
Yes.
So you don't like order her in the kitchen, come, kuja upike sijui chapo. Shock will be on you. So we sat and discussed, and we agreed on activities that we are going to go through for purposes of to ensure that she's kept busy. So one of the things we did is the cooking. So would agree, should come up with a recipe, or myself, today we are doing chapati, whatever activity. The other thing we did also was the working out. Because you remember the issue is the energy. So despite that there was the issue of restriction, but within the house you could, and then also the TV, the various TV channels made it easier. There were different exercises that were coming that you could do them at home. So it all changed in our gears, and start working out. And also we had other discussions. So in short, I came up with the different activities to engage my daughter that would keep her busy, so that she had a very little time for her. When you leave the mind to wander, and that is, you open a door for her to make other discoveries. So those are some of the things that I did.
So you said you engage her in various activities. You said like cooking. You got recipes, or she would select recipes, and you would do them together. And then you did workouts. Is there something else that you did to keep her busy?
Yes. Remember also, we are talking about the issue of the schools. She's in class 7.
Yes.
And she had joined a new school in January.
Okay.
So come mid of March, then the schools were closed. So initially, the school had not introduced the Zoom classes.
Yes.
So we could not forget the part of the academic part of it. So being an academician also, I decided to take up that role. In short, we came up with a timetable so that when this pandemic is over, there'll be a new normal, but there's some things that needs to be done. So we agreed on what time she should wake up, what time is breakfast and all that. So we slotted a time for studies, whereby before the school shared a timetable, would go, I did we agreed on the timetable so that we can be able to engage in terms of the academics, because at that time, their mind, when it's docile in terms of academics, you'll forget.
Yes.
And together with that, remember the age. There's a gap in the age. So, in the normal circumstances, she would have engaged with her friends outside there.
Yes.
So what I also did is that I gave her an opportunity to use the telephone, the handset, to be able to call. She has some friends in church that they attend a church with. So would call once in a while so that they could share their experiences, so that she did not feel left out, that we are really confining her. The only faces she's seeing is mom, dad, brother, and all that.
Yeah.
So, she could not meet her friends physically, but through the phone, they would talk. She would share her experience in this environment. The other, her friend would also share. And with that, if there's any question that she'd want to ask, or rather, maybe the friend posed a challenge that she felt maybe was unique, then we could discuss about it. The other thing was also there are a lot of questions.
Yes.
During the pandemic, there's a lot of, when we were watching these updates.
Yes.
And there's a lot of news. Remember, they are technology savvy, so they would Google and get a lot of information.
Yes.
And so she'll be like, Mommy, why is this happening? Why are we confined? Why? So would engage. I would be able also to search a lot of information. Of course, I'm not a medic, so some of the answers, I did not have them on the fingertips. And the worst thing is for you to give an answer that is not correct. You'd rather be honest and say, that one I don't know, but I will be able to get more information, because whatever it is that you give, they'll hold you accountable.
That's true.
So she would ask, why is it that the tests are being done after every 14 days? So initially I was also not very conversant, but now I had to also get information to be able to know that the virus, which is one of the pathogens, they take 14 days to be able to develop.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So there was a lot of information search, and there was a lot of why this, why are we confined? You mean I can't go out? Yeah. So for how long? So all that. And this is because their minds, their brains at that particular time is developing, and there's a lot of why. And remember, it's very important because of their identity. That is the time that you can either lose your child or be able to mold them to be what they'll be able to be in future.
Okay. Thank you, Fleria. Thank you for sharing us.
Thank you.
Rev Sundwa, please share with us, how was your experience parenting teenagers during this time?
Thank you, Rev Ann Kariuki. Now, I think this is an interesting stage for our young people when they come up, both girls and boys. And one thing I need to appreciate is that parenting is interesting. At this level, a new person is revealed.
Yes.
This person you're seeing yesterday as a child now has transformed into something else. That one, it's growing to identity that it want to conform to, so that they become.
Yes.
And so they want to assert. And number two, you don't really know them, because there are many things that will happen, and they want to do it in the confinement of their peace and their own way.
Yes.
And so they want to keep it away from you as they tried. Now at this level, I realized all our teenagers are back at home. All our children are back at home. But at their stage, many were in school, they will be out in college, they will be outdoors most of the time. And therefore, there were times when you gather. So the first challenge I met was we were all at home.
Yes.
And everybody, including myself, were assigned to be back at home in the house. It had never happened for a very long time. Even when we plan our holiday, we plan our break, one person would be missing for one reason or another.
Yes.
So it was a time to reflect and say, wow, now we are here. So we had to embrace each other because I discovered we were clashing in terms of each other's private space.
Yes.
When you come in the lounge, now I'm a father.
Yes.
There's a mother in this house, who's my wife. And then there are the children at various levels. My children are separated each with about 4 years. So they are a bit stretched up in terms of their thought life and how they do their thing. So what you'll find is each one of them would demand some space. And here we had a daughter and 3 sons. The last born son is really small, 10 years. The next person is 18 years. That is the friend that the person has. Now this little one also wants to behave like a teenager and up.
Yes.
And so he finds he's clashing because he cannot manage. So I will hear constant scratching because he will demand for space and the others have taken over the space and are demanding him to behave like them.
Yes.
So often I had to be there to defend as a father because even the mother could not manage. So the first all I had to do is to make sure that we have managed this little space that we have. And I'm talking like this knowing that every scenario of a family has a different space in terms of what we're calling space.
Yes.
There's a family in the city, there's a family in the countryside,
Yes.
and remember our homes are not the same. And therefore the challenge of space can really be that intense. You will find you're a father of girls or a house of daughters, or sometimes you find mixed, or sometimes you find they're just sons. Now those situations present very different kind of demands. The first challenge I had met, I said it was about space.
Yes.
When we agreed, it was easier because you'll find at this time you are in the lounge, you wake up in the morning, then they don't want to wake up. Because they ask you, tunaamka tunaenda wapi?
Exactly.
And honestly, where are they going? There's nowhere. So you tell them, okay, prepare the house. And it's like, Dad, we are so many. So if you start preparing this house, who should do what and who should do the next thing? And then I realized, wow, then in this matter, I'm not very well versed with this house, and I'm part of some of the things that are supposed to be done in the house. So the mother became very handy.
Yes.
And I want to appreciate the mothers at this level.
Yes.
That there are things fathers will take for granted. Mothers are wonderful people. She took up, and I realized this guy who could not even take his cup from the table and thrust in the kitchen is now able to scrub and cook. He's able to wash utensils and the guy will go in and bang. One of them will just bang the utensils to be told, don't do this.
Stop making noise.
Exactly. But you'll find he actually fell in place and now he's the best guy in the kitchen. And he's boy. The others, I realized one of them was too harsh, prefect. He wants to make sure he supervises everybody. And then I laughed because...
How old is the prefect?
The prefect is 23.
And okay, that's the firstborn.
It was secondborn. Now I realize he's taking after me because the firstborn is girl. So he wants to make sure he's the one ruling as father.
Yeah.
So he takes my role and he's threatening everybody, making sure things are done. And I realize he did so well. So sometimes he raised his voice and everybody is moving, including the one who's immediately after him. So I had an assistant. Yes. Which was great. And I said, oh, so I had mentored somebody without knowing. So I see the traits come out of them.
So let me cut you short.
Yes.
So was that new for you to realize that this child has leadership qualities?
It was new because I had never thought then he would be docile and watch and just move. But when he was allowed now to act, I could see because the mother at one time would even tell me, can you take care of this young man? Because I don't think he's listening to me. Yeah. I said, but this is your favorite. So I discovered the guy had just changed. So he had moved out of the teenhood and now he's in adult stage. He's just finished college and he's asserting himself. And I could see him trying now to fend and defend his space in terms of authority and responsibility, which to me was good. And what I realized I needed to do was now to moderate, to make sure it functions well for him and the rest in the house. Now, we had to be put in this scenario because it's a new thing. This pandemic is new. So you realize even at the house, you had now to make sure hygiene is up. You had to make sure you're sanitizing. You had to make sure the sanitizers are there, they are worn, and therefore at all times you are actually putting yourself in a place where every other place you are keeping hygiene very high. So we had to deal with laundry, we had to deal with the cleanliness, and apart from that, there was the outdoor cleanliness.
Yes.
So here the boys will be given their tasks, and the girl will be given the tasks. And at this level, even the little one now will fit in because it's not as little. So it was able to fuse very well because the others will be in the garden. We have a small garden actually out there where we have been feeding from. Our vegetable comes from the garden for all the years. Very great. There will be a compound. Now they say no worker is going to come here. The boys say we'll take care of the compound. The car, now you'll be told we'll be cleaning. Hakuna cha car wash.
Yes.
I said great. And now the other thing that really brought in a lot of challenge is that, okay, first to third born, they had finished school and college. Our first born was working, the second born had just begun to do his thing. The third born had just finished high school, is waiting to join college. And I will be that. What do you want me to do? I'm waiting for my chance to get to college.
Yes.
So you will assign particular tasks to them in terms of engagement. And so there will be a verse with many things, and like my sister has put forth, we have the social media forums and we have the internet that is full of a lot of info, the TV, the laptops, and they will tend now to recede to their rooms. And sometimes what is going on inside there you will not even know. And it has to go on at the confines of their peace.
Yes.
And so occasionally we had to drive ourselves now to a forum. And what I realized is in the evenings, when the day has ended, they will never want to go to sleep. It's us parents who want to go and sleep, but then they want to continue into the morning.
Yes.
And they'll tell you, we have nothing else to do. So thank God for salvation, thank God for the Word of God. These evenings made a tremendous time for us to meet for the Word of God.
Okay.
Because we were not allowed as church now to meet as it will happen in the home Bible churches.
Yes.
But at home, it was the best time. I've never had best ministry in the house than this one.
Amen.
Because one, everybody was at home. Number two, everybody was able to accept their position in terms of calling. And I had tremendous and wonderful singers. The elders have picked up on media and information as they're training. So they're really outgoing. I don't think I have a professional of a particular type in my house. Everybody's doing their own thing. The young one, I could see him compose music and present. And now the videos for us to now comment and edit. And I was like, it's great. We'll sit down now, we'll read our Bibles, study the Bible now, if we're not reading. We will go into intense, I've never known how to worship properly. We've really worshipped properly, minus limitation. So we go until we find we are crying on the floor. And we will go now deep into prayer, into deep intercession. Twice or three times, the young one couldn't keep up the pace. But I realized everybody was now a prayerful person. Now he joined. And one of them could not pick up and pray. But from this, you had no choice. You had 3-4 hours. You had to do something. And I like what you said earlier when we opened up the program. Train a child in the way it should grow. And when they grow up, they will never depart. So they tend to imitate what you do.
Yes.
So they will pray reach a place they cannot be. They will follow you in your prayer. And now I found they could lead, they could take as much as 2 hours until we decide, let's break here. It's enough. And often we find we're ending up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Is when they say, now it's enough, at least let's go rest. But you see the interest, you see the desire. I wish to caution here that the mothers do a great role. So most parents do, but the mother have this extra grace to nurture families. And so mothers out there, I speak to you again, I encourage you. You are the driver of family. And therefore, don't just leave everybody. So for me, I'll enter the program and I will make sure that I am up, encouraging everybody else, and we must go together. So at this level for me, where mama could not take care now, I brought in my role as a father, and I brought on like the boys. The girl was so easy to deal with because she was the firstborn and she was able to mentor the rest very well.
Yes.
Respect with the fact that she's the daughter only, she was able to pick up the rest and pull them. The boys had, what I say, fighting for space and identity. So at this level, we could see how they could come up. So it was a time of identifying and spiraling them into what they're supposed to be. I realized again that these are career people. They're now trying to know and understand who they are. And at this level, we'll sit and discuss. Here, we'll discuss very many things. Career, I will discuss quality. And I remember the other thing I really discussed about is hair. Hair with teenagers.
Yes.
It's an issue. I battled my guys. I have a bald here. But I used to keep hair, big hair. And I used to do some style when I was a teenager, and I felt it was important for me because I was identifying with somebody.
Yes. But
my dad was so harsh. My dad was a teacher. You will never compromise at that level. So I reached a point, I would push these guys and tell them, if I catch you, not like myself. So school helped me. School, they will demand for this kind of thing I have here.
Yes.
But when they came home, I mean, you had nothing to make them...
They wanted to grow an afro.
They want to grow the hair. Even if I took them to the barber, the barber says, your baby says, I only trim here. They all say, just touch here, let this hair grow. But something funny, the hair is not kempt. They want to leave something funny up here. So I had to reflect back to what I did to my dad too, those times. And I would fight. That was in the village, this is in the city. And I discovered these guys, they have to have their way. So I told them, fine, have your thing, but tengeneza are heavy. And there's the dressing. You find they're doing good jeans, but you buy yours, you made a full, then they puncture. They want it punctured. And they trim it and feel it tight on their legs. And I'm asking them, how do you enter this cloth?
Yes.
Tell us that this is the way it is. It should be like this. So reflecting back, I realized it is their time. It is their space. So I tell them, fine, then have it smart, have it clean, have it this way. And partly I'll now take them to shop, even like for the clothes for them. And I'll ask them now, let's have a reason why we do this. And we'll go. And we'll go. Now at this point, I wish to assert, I never had an issue with my daughter.
Yes.
Never. Never.
Really?
She will flow. She will flow very well.
Wow.
Until I said, oh, I should have had more daughters. When it came to boys, I really had challenges. You buy a piece of cloth and the following day you wonder, you don't even know a jana. And they will never put it on.
Yes.
They don't. You think the cloth disappeared. It's just in the box they kept it there.
Yeah.
They tell you, Daddy, give us some money, you want to go and shop, and you react. They ask them to bring what they had bought when it was there. And so when you ask them, they say, Daddy, this one is okay. And the price, I don't want to mention here. So here we were able now to talk about dressing.
Yes.
Traits that we could see. I remember one day my guy came home, I think he had done some shooting, he was editing, and something just went wrong with the flash disk or something. So it couldn't open, it was corrupted. So the little boy came and laughed at him. So he just lifted the guy with the ears up and down, up and down. And if I was not around, I don't know what would have happened. So I asked him, what's wrong? He said, this guy is laughing at me and my work is spoiled. So I told him, no, your range doesn't have to go this way. You have controlled moderate, this is a baby. And number two, I'm sure there's something you can do about this flash disk.
Yes.
You ought to have had a backup. So in future, always have backups. And I sat him now down. I pushed out the rest, sat him down. We walked and we agreed, and he told me, thank you, Dad, to help me. I think I had an issue here and I don't know how I'll handle it. Thank God there's a way. Moderation.
Yes.
We went further and realized there are times you just had empty time. You don't know what to do. So that she put forth, we had to do exercise. We don't have gym in the house.
Yes.
And you can't just be running out there. We have a good place we can run around, but I'm not a fan of running either. So what we'll do, we move to our lounge and we push the furnitures out.
Yes.
There are very good programs on the internet for workouts that can be done in the house. And we'll have 2 hours. 2 hours of workouts every evening. We'll break into dinner and then we come back to our time for fellowship. And that will push us to do it, and so we are very healthy people.
Wow.
Pandemic is interesting. We were told, kaa nyumbani. But the little one will never stay in the house. You'll find these people have to identify with their peers. By the way, as you raise babies, they will always identify with their peers.
True.
And I realized, one, it's important because that's where they belong. That's where they learn their thing. And there's an age set, and there are particular traits. And like my sister had put it, hormonal equation and balances and growth and differences. As they crop up, this person is different. So what you need to do is like you are driving a car on the highway. You are the only sane person. So when a teenager is in that stage, you need us to sit in the driver's seat and prepare with them. And help them to steer through. And you realize at the end of the day, because even them sometimes they don't understand what they are doing. I had a bigger reflection because for many years, like 15 years, I've been dealing with teenagers at high school when I was mentoring young men and serving as a board member in high schools.
Yes.
So I was able to see the various characters displayed by our children, and you'll find they are all different. There are parents, you'll find families where we have two parents, both parents are there, husband and wife, then they have the children. There are situations you'll find parents, only one child, and maybe a daughter or a son. It's different, totally. So peers are very important at this level.
Yes.
And they had to come up in groups. So what we did was to guide, where we were able also to raise in the locality. We had our WhatsApp groups, both here and even in the villages. And so what we used to do, we'll compare and see, and come up with ideas on how to help our children. So we developed issues like sports, where they'll maintain less contact, but they are able to engage and dispense that energy positively in this time when we had the blank space. And number two, we'll sit them down and now help to get people like counselors to come and talk to them, because there's that which is beyond us. When I was raised, sexuality used to be taught by our aunties, and I thank God for my late grandmother. She would talk things the way they are. Today, I cannot put my daughter there and start speaking some things. But my aunt will do it. And she will slap me and tell me so many things. Now the auntie of my children is a bit far. And it's a bit difficult. So you find when you're kila kitu, you are the grandmother, you're the auntie, you're everything. So parents, it's good at this level that we learn also of what used to happen before and try to bring it on board. Because there are so many teachers for our children, especially the social media and the internet. It's so averse, the TV, so averse with many teachings. So we need, like I said, to sit in the driver's seat and help our young people transit into adulthood and negotiate and navigate this today.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much for sharing with us. I can see our time is far gone, but as we conclude, Flaria, what is the one tip you'd like to share to the parents out there? They're raising teenagers and they're wondering, what do I need to do with this teenager? I don't know what to do with them. They have issues with coping with their own stresses. What would you tell them?
Thank you. What I can be able to advise a parent out there who is watching this program and you have challenges raising your teenage. One thing you need to understand is that this is a different phase. So listen keenly, have an ear. It does not matter your opinion. According to you, whatever they could be giving you, you might not find it relevant, but give them a listening ear. And if you feel that whatever it is that they're putting across differs with your opinion, please do not rubbish whatever it is that they are giving you. Give them a justification. Give them why you think it should not be done their way, and give them an explanation. Do not command. That particular stage is very critical. They will not take instructions. So don't feel like they're being mannerless. Just understand that it's a phase that they're going through, and it's a critical stage, because if you do not give them that platform, then you can lose your son or your daughter. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Well said. What about you, Rev Asunda? What is the one tip you would like to share to parents who are raising teenagers?
I drive cars. As a parent, you must drive the car. You must be in control of the car. And mostly, a driver loves their car. And when you love your car, you service it well. And there are stages and phases. And you will make sure that this car delivers. And that car carries your life and other person's lives. So you must love your car. Parents, love your teenagers. Love them. When you get love, what my sister has just put forth will be possible. When you love your car, you can be sure it will give you the service. Number two, it will demand various things. When you are negotiating a corner, you put on the right indicator. When the car must overtake, and it must overtake fast, it must overtake fast. When I've said now comb your hair, and it has to be combed, you will comb. If tasks has to be achieved tomorrow, we'll achieve them tomorrow. Na kama ni parking, itapark na ingoje. Na kama ni kuoshwa, gari itaoshwa.
Thank you very much, Reverend Osundwa. Thank you for joining us in our show and giving our viewers tips on how to raise their children. Thank you, Flaria, too, for blessing us. Family, I hope you've had that. Be drivers of your teenagers. Listen to them, love them, and direct them in the way that they should go. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, I have another interesting guest, and we're going to discuss more about the challenges that teenagers face during the pandemic. Stay tuned.
JBN, the glory is here.
I just want to welcome each and every one of us to our usual Sunday services. We kick off at 7 a.m. English service running through to 9 a.m. At 9:15, we enter with English Kiswahili service, 9:15 up to 11:15. And then 11:30, we come now with the Kikuyu Kiswahili service. Kikuyu Kiswahili service, and we go up to 1:30. Then we give room to the youth to have their glorious service, which starts at 1:45 up to 3:45. Every Wednesday, never forget, we have a deliverance service, 5:30 running through to 7:30. For 2 hours, come for a glorious worship, a tremendous time of word and ministry, casting out devils, healing the sick, delivering God's people. 5:30 to 7:30 every Wednesday. You are most welcome. Let's meet in the house of the Lord. Bless you. See you in Gia.
JBN, the glory is here.
Welcome back, family. And right now I am joined by my wonderful friend. We serve together in Family Life Ministry. Karibu sana. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Thank you, Rev Ann. My name is Benson Muchuku. I serve in the Family Life Ministry, and I have implemented programs with the adolescents and the youth across Eastern, Central, and Southern Africa. And I am here so that we could be able to have more discussions on a deep dive in regards to the challenges that are facing the adolescents and the youth.
Amen.
Yes.
Karibu sana. As you've heard, we had earlier 2 guests who shared about the challenges and the experiences of how they raised their teenagers during this pandemic. But generally, what do you think are some of the challenges that the teenagers have been facing during this pandemic?
There are a number of challenges, and I would really articulate to one by one. And before I hit there, I would like to really ask a question. Where do we think things have been going wrong? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we need to really talk and discuss about, it's about the levels of socialization.
Yes.
We have the church, mm-hmm. the family, community, and the schools. Mm-hmm. These are the platforms and areas that shape mm-hmm. our children. Mm-hmm. And if we don't adhere and give what is required within these institutions, mm-hmm. then we are facing the challenges that we are facing currently. Mm-hmm. Look at the family. Mm-hmm. The family is the structure where you need to hear and listen to what you need to do mm-hmm. as a young person, either adolescent or youth. Mm-hmm. If you come out of that family, mm-hmm. you go out and interact with the community. Mm-hmm. Now, whatever is discussed within this community or what is done around this community also shapes a lot in regards to who you become. Mm-hmm. Then now we have the church, where now you are mentored, you are given the spiritual knowledge and the word for you to be able to grow. And then finally, we have the institutions, learning institutions, schools, where you get more information in terms of knowledge, how you need to behave, and how you need to be able to groom yourself. Now, coming now to the question is, then where is the problem and how should we be able to articulate all this? Mm-hmm. It is because we have really run away from mentoring. Mm-hmm. We've been able now to shy off from nailing the issues that affect the adolescents and the youth. Mm-hmm. And that is where we need to come in and talk on the matters relating to sexual and reproductive health, mm-hmm. talk about financial literacy, mm-hmm. and also discuss more on information, communication, and technology, mm-hmm. because these are the platforms where our youths are really mingling around, they would like to get much information on that. If we come to sexual and reproductive health, it's a matter of us being able to talk and share without it hiding. We need to talk about human sexuality. We need to talk about the challenges that as a youth you go through, the processes of growth. And that would really help a lot even as they face the challenges.
Yes.
When it comes to matters of financial literacy, we need to involve them when we are planning. We need to talk about livelihoods, the income generating activities. But what we are seeing currently is parents who are able now to do everything without involving their children, the youth, and also the adolescents. And then information, communication, and technology, ICT issues. Most of the youths and adolescents now have access to digital platforms. We have the television, we do have the phones, and other channels. They can get information that they have not had from the levels of socialization that I discussed. So if they get this information on their own, then it is very difficult for us to be able to unwind or remove what they have been able to gather from all this. So there are a number of issues that we need to articulate to and be able now to ensure that our youths and adolescents have a secure environment.
Okay, well said. I'm very curious. Now, during the pandemic, you've talked about we have various issues, we have various institutions where the teenagers can get this information. You've talked about the church, you've talked about the schools. But during this pandemic, we were locked down, I must say. So where were these teenagers to get this information? They're basically at home. Probably there's a parent who's working out there. Probably they're not working at home. So how can these teenagers be helped?
That's a great question. And during this pandemic, I know most parents have opened up their eyes. And it is because there was that lack of linkages in terms of what the children learn in school and what they get back at home. And there was a confusion in regards to what do I tell my children. One, it's about the responsibilities. I wake up very early in the morning, go to work, come back in the evening when the children have come back from school. So you don't have really much time to interact with them. But now looking at all this, the gap that we are having and where we need to really help, and especially matters relating to COVID pandemic, it's to look at how we are going to solve the issues of agency. We have structure and relations. By agency, we try to look at the confidence, the self-esteem. If you have been groomed by a parent or you have been brought up in a society where you can be able to know how to articulate to a no and a yes, that means you have self-confidence. You have that esteem that makes you stand even in the midst of storms. If it comes to the component touching on relations, how can I relate with my peers? How can I relate with the community? Because we have really closed that space, and it is because of the me syndrome of my children, and that's it. We don't really bring the component of my children can also be mentored by other people who have that information. And then when it comes now to structure, it is now the surrounding, and the government also comes in.
Okay, sorry, let me stop you. Let me stop there. So you've talked about the me syndrome, where parents are not allowing the children to be mentored by other people. But during this time of pandemic, how can they get that mentorship from?
Great. If we look at the platforms where we could be able to get information, then that is an area for us to see on how the adolescents and the youths will be mentored during this this pandemic period. And I'll give an example in terms of livelihoods initiatives. We all live in homes where we could be able to grow a number of plans that would make our youths and adolescents busy. We could do cookery or other activities within the household. But most of us had not really figured around those kind of activities that would engage the adolescents and the youth. Even in terms of saving, this is the time where you also nurture these adolescents and the youth in terms of how can they be able to put together 1 shilling, 2 shillings, and at the end of the day they have a saving. So those skills were transferred to an institution. They were not now within the right place where they need to start, and that is home and family. And believe you me or not, whatever we hear from our parents, it's very key and important on how we grow. So if that can now be brought within the family setup, then it would have been better. But now during the pandemic, there was a lot of confusion because as a parent, one, I don't have that relational component with my adolescent or youth. We never sit down and talk. So it becomes a home where it's like another lockdown. You are locked out and you are also locked in the house.
In their own house.
So that becomes a really big challenge. And the adolescents now are fighting for their space. They wonder, how do I really engage my parents and talk to them in regards to these issues? And some of them started suffering. And if you could have seen, we had now the increase in teenage pregnancies.
Absolutely.
Because now they don't have anyone to confide to. They don't have any person to counsel them. They are free. They don't have engagements that would keep them busy. And so what do? They go out and they vent to the wrong people. And after venting, then now we saw the increase of teenage pregnancies. So if we are able now to look at the power within our households, what can we be able to do to nurture these children? If they go out there, they are going to be strong because they have been fed with the power, which comes in with the esteem, which is groomed, and then their structure and their relations also become strong when it comes to their matters relating their bodies and also their livelihoods.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. I'm very curious about, you've mentioned about the teenage pregnancies that were so overwhelming in this nation. I mean, where did the rain start beating on parents to a point where we're having such a huge number of teenage pregnancies? What went wrong? What do you think what went wrong?
That's a great question, and it comes across in different platforms, even when we are implementing programs. And
Yes.
I'll give a practical example with a program that we implemented in the informal settlement and a rural setup. And we were trying to look at the innovations that would really come in to strengthen the adolescents and the youth. And looking at the challenges, we had to carry out a baseline that would inform us where are these problems and where are the challenges. And one of the key issues that came out during our evaluation was that there is lack of that connection between the adolescents and the parents. There is also lack of that interconnectedness with the adolescents and the community.
Okay.
What does that tell you? It tells you that our adolescents and youth have been left to run their show, to do their things. And that is not how it should be, because even biblically, we should be able to mentor and groom. But if we leave them on their own, then they are able to design their own things. And when we went deeper to be able to understand now from the adolescents themselves, they came out and they said that we are not given the space to be free as we should be.
Okay,
And
sorry. To be free means?
them being able to come up and share their views openly and them being taken by their parents or guardians. So they felt that they are locked. Because what they want, it's not what the parents are advocating for. And the parents are not now coming to a nexus to understand them. And for us to be able now to curb this problem, we had now to look on how we can bring in the communities, the church coming in the forefront, because if you look at most of the challenges that we are already facing, the church comes top when it comes to solving such kind of problems. And it is because they have all the time in terms of the spiritual nourishment and also being able to bring the crowds together. We designed a program that would be able to articulate to the issues. And one of the things that we looked at was economic empowerment. Secondly, issues to do with sexual and reproductive health. And then finally, an innovation which now would bring in the information, communication, and technology. If you'd like to pass information to the adolescents and the youth in the old fashion, you would not be able to do it. They would like something that is interactive. They would like content that they feel that they are connecting with you, and also something that they could, as peers, work together. And that is a model that we have gone wrong. And I'm answering now to your question, where we design programs for the youth and adolescents without involving them.
Okay.
If you don't involve them in the design, in terms of them interacting and participating, you are then designing programs for yourself. And that is why you'll be able to articulate to a problem that is not the problem. And so what we did is we had now to bring them together, be able to deliver this content and talk to them in groups. Now, the other challenge that we do have is we don't have the right people to mentor the youth and adolescents. You bring a 50-year-old person to talk to a youth. Believe you me or not, they will not be able to connect.
Yes, that's
because there is one who would come with an older version of how things are done, and this other one has another way of understanding issues.
True.
That will not work. So you have to mentor people who are at the same age bracket, and that is where peer mentorship comes. Let them talk to each other. Let them get that information together, and then we'll be able to curb the problem that we have been able to see even for the teen pregnancies.
Okay. I'm wondering, for a teenager who is in the village or a teenager who is in the slum, and you've talked about information technology, how does that work for teenagers in such areas?
That's a great question. And when it comes to information, communication, and technology, it is a matter of understanding that it is not only the mobile phone that can pass this information.
Yes.
We have the radio, and we also have the television that communicates all this. And it is tailoring your messaging in a way such that you could reach to all, the urban and the rural. And if you look at even IEC materials, information, communication materials, you tailor them in the language that they'll be able to understand. I do remember the other day we had a program, and the youths were using some language that even us as members of the family life would not really understand that kind of language.
That's true.
So that means that we need now to have they themselves being able to communicate to each other on a peer model for that to really be able to come out really clearly. So if you look at the rural setup and the informal settlement, it's tailoring information and content that is customized to such kind of environments.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. During this pandemic, we noticed that of course, all the teenagers are at home. There's nothing else to do. You can go to church. You can go to the club. A club meaning where you can go play basketball, do other fun activities.
Yes.
So they were all constrained at home. And if you remember, Rev Osunda was talking about his children were playing on their phones, on their gadgets before they started having the Bible studies and all that. So my question is, so these teenagers or the youth have been on the social media. What are some of the dangers or challenges of a teen being engaged in social media?
Information is good, and information can also be destructive. How we use the information we get is the most important thing.
Yes.
Our adolescents and youth have access to more information than we do. And reason is they are able to explore, they are able to learn more from each other, and they can communicate and access that information. So when it comes to dealing with the adolescents and the youth, you have also to raise your game in terms of being able to know what happens in the social media. I have been having discussions with some parents who are not in Facebook.
Yes.
Who are also not in Twitter. They don't even understand what happens in those platforms.
True.
But their youths and adolescents are already there. They are getting all this information. Look at YouTube. You are able to Google and get much information from YouTube.
True.
Then you as a parent, you don't even understand what really goes around. So how will you be able to address this young one if you yourself you don't understand? That information gap is what is a key problem, because even if they will be able to go to the sites that are not advocated, how will you know as a parent that there are harmful content that these adolescents and youth go to? So it's a matter of being able to connect that linkage between the guardian or parent and the adolescent and the youth, for you to be able to sit down with them, interact with them, just hear from them the content that they are learning. Just ask them, which sites do you visit? What kind of materials do you get there? How informative is it? And how are your friends also, responding to what you post and what you do and such kind of things? And where possible, it is not harmful for you to also be in the platform where you are adolescents are. And don't go there to be a policeman or a policewoman. Be there in terms of being able to encourage what is right and also be able now to protect them from the harmful content. So it's a matter of us now being able to wear the shoes of the adolescents and the youth as parents and raise them in a way such that we don't leave them to do everything, but also ensuring that we also understand the platforms and areas that they go to.
Okay, so what if there's a parent who has a teenager and this teenager is not being straightforward with them and they're using pseudonyms in their accounts, whether it is Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, and you really want to monitor, what can that parent do?
That's a great question, and that is where now we're bringing the mentorship component. Believe you me or not, you will not be able to raise your children alone.
Yes.
Including the youths and the adolescents. And there is a social fabric that has been, waved within this current generation. If you remember when we were growing up, we grew up in a society, in a community where an uncle or a relative would punish you on the wrongs that you've been able to commit and still go ahead and report you. And you'll get the double discipline. Now, during this current, trends that we are in, you realize that a parent has been able to be overprotective. My child is my child. And that has really led to different issues and problems. So what I would encourage and I would be able to bring out clearly is mentorship is very important. And as a parent, try to identify other parents who have been able to walk the journey, who have been able to understand, like the parents who are here, the challenges the youth go through. Try to create that linkage for those children to be mentored. They might not mention that you send them there, but it's a matter of you being able now to become more innovative on how they could get that information. If you can't access it, let another person help you in terms of accessing your youth or your adolescent, and let them mentor them and share that information that you cannot be able to share. I also had a parent who was saying that I cannot talk about issues relating to sexual and reproductive health to my youth or my adolescent. That is where now you need another professional or another person who could be able to bring that content that you can't be able to deliver, so that we all bring our adolescents and youth in a manner that they can be able to be responsible and nurture each other as we mentor from different dimensions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I have one last question concerning social media. So I heard from another forum where there's a parent, because there's homeschooling, okay? So the child is seated at the dining table doing schoolwork. The mother is doing the work probably in another room in the house. And they found this child actually not paying attention to what the teacher was teaching, and they were going to other pornographic sites. How would you help a parent who is raising a teenager at home during these difficult times? They're either a working parent and yet their children are still going in school. What are some of the measures that they can take to ensure that their children are not deviating from the standards of the social media, probably even the ones that have been set in the house?
Thank you. And it is very clear that too much of everything is usually poisonous. If you give too much access, then we get the challenges in terms of even a person being able to go to sites that are not recommendable. And one of the things that I would be able to tell you is when it comes to social media, it is one of the areas that most parents are struggling currently in terms of how they are going to go around it. And the problem is you might decide at home, I'm going to put the restrictions.
Yes.
I'm going to put all what it requires for that information not to be accessed. But what if this adolescent or youth goes to a youth meeting or goes out to meet with the other friends? They might even get access to the phone of the other. So the key way of ensuring that we curb this is now coming to the back root of where I started, strengthening the levels of socialization. Let us strengthen the church. Let us ensure that youths and adolescents get the right content from the church.
Yes.
Let us talk to the communities. Let them understand that it is not the responsibility of a teacher to mentor my child.
That's true.
It is a joint responsibility for all of us. Let us look at the family fabrics. Where have we gone wrong within the family setups? Why do we really reinforce capitalism when it comes to issues of raising our children? We need to be democratic in matters relating our children. And then look at then how we could be able now to ensure that our children have to know the right and the wrong. And as a parent, also be a disciplinarian. Be able to discipline. Let there be standards and rules within your home.
Yes.
That this cannot be done. This one cannot be done in this way. And Rev Ann, I want to really point out that the challenges that we are seeing for the youth and adolescents come from the roots. When between ages 0 to around 7 years. Because that is the time a kid interacts with all what is around you.
Yes.
And most of them have grown in scenarios where they are looking at matters of gender-based violence. This kid has grown knowing that I can always, do this, and this is what I learned. So if we can be able to curb some of these problems between these ages, I am so sure that when it comes to adolescent stage and the youth stage, we are able to manage, because you are reinforcing what you are able to sow and what you are able to plant. And that would really help a lot in regards to that.
Okay, thank you for that. We've seen that the schools have been closed, no schools have been opened yet, and the number of teenagers that have been affected are the ones who are going to sit for, is it KCSE? KCSE.
Yes.
I'm sure there are various challenges that they're going through. What do you think are some of the issues that are going with those particular challenges, those particular teenagers who are about to clear school?
There are a number of things that are going through the minds of these adolescents and teenagers, because your body was not actually prepared for you to be able to conceive and get a child. And it accidentally came to you. So you are in that confusion. And you are asking yourself, if I go back to school, how am I going to really be seen by the other adolescents and the youth? And this is a challenge that we had within the program that I mentioned, because we were articulating to in-school and out-of-school adolescents.
Yes.
Those who have been able to drop out of school and they would like to be re-enrolled, then would be able to have discussions with them and counsel them and be able to send them back to school. But now the problem is our systems. We have all been brought up to think that whenever a person delivers, they become a failure completely. They are not supposed to be able to do anything else. But what I would be able to say is, if you make a mistake for the first time, that's something that you could be able to work on. The problem is when you continue making the mistake. You have realized that you are an adolescent, you are a youth, you've been able now to get this child. It's a matter of shaking yourself, acknowledging that you did a mistake, and now from there, be able now to look at the goal. The goal is this child that you've been able to bring to the world. This child would require a parent who would stand for them, who would be there for them to protect. So it is for you now to stand and go back, continue with that education, and look at the goal that at the end of the day, I will not like to see my child going through the same problems that I went through. The other thing that we can be able to do, and this is what I saw through our research and intervention, the church plays a big role. Let us bring this information of sexual and reproductive health in the church. Let us talk to the adolescents and the youth about human sexuality. Let us be, practical as possible. And there are models that have been able to be have been developed for us to be able to guide. And I think we'll be able now to work in the different dimensions with all levels of socialization and bring up a cohesive society.
Okay, thank you for that. So, like I said, the final exams have been postponed, the KCPE and the KCSE. So I'm sure we have teenagers who are very disgruntled, they're very demoralized because of this pandemic. So they were looking forward to going to either Form 1 and others were finished. They were looking forward to finishing school and starting life. And that is the most exciting moment for a teenager. For me, when I was in Form 4 and I was doing my last exam, I was looking forward to finishing my exams and burning my books and starting my life. So I'm sure there's so many teenagers who are out there. They're very disgruntled. They're feeling hopeless. They're wondering, okay, they keep postponing these exams. They don't even know when they're going to sit. What would you tell them?
Everyone has a goal, and I know the teenagers and the youth had a goal that by the end of this year, I should be able to think about university. I should think about going to Form 1. But then it didn't happen. It was a pandemic. One of the things that I would like to really talk about here is about being able now to hold on what you can be able to manage, work with that, and if there is something that is beyond your control, you let it be within the hands of God. Now, you would like to finish, but you didn't. But there are other things that you could be able to do that would keep you moving as you wait for that. The bigger challenge is we are waiting to finish, but we are not thinking about other skills that would be able to help us grow as we wait to finish. I have seen a number of youths and adolescents who have been able to finish their school, but they are still out and they have not been able to do anything. So at this time, it is about managing that anxiety. And how do you manage that anxiety? Is doing something that is productive. Start baking at home. Start doing, art, anything that is within your passion. Grow that skill, because you'll need this skill even after your graduation. You'll need this skill even after finishing Form 4. So skill is something that you grow at this time as you wait for all this to go back to normal. And then the other thing that I would be able to say is engage yourself with productive materials. There are books that would inspire you, not academic. You can be able to get books that would be able to build your spiritual nourishment. Academically, that would be also build you. And also establish relationships with personal mentors whom once in a while you'd be able to sit down with them and have discussions. Don't lock yourself because of this period. Open up. Be able to discuss your issues. Let people know that you have the fears, because most of them don't come out to say that I was expecting to finish by this year and I feel so frustrated. Kindly open up, talk to people, and I know a problem, shared is a problem solved.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well said. So what would you tell the parent of a teenager? How would they support this particular special group of teenagers, the ones who are supposed to either move to Form 1 or finish KCSE and move on to college? How can these parents support their children?
Thank you for that question, and that is where we need now the linkage of now the parent being able to understand that as far as I am going through my own issues within this period, my kid or my youth or adolescent is going through more. And for you as a parent, it's now to see on how you can be able to cover that. There are some short online courses that you could be able now to support these young ones to go through. There is also that closeness that they would like to have with you. Try as much as possible to sit down with them, ask them where they are going wrong, where they feel things are good, and how they could be able to improve. But then don't be a disciplinarian throughout, so that once now you arrive home, the kids are running all over and trying to see where they can get refuge. Yeah, so that is what a parent would be able to do. The other thing is, and one thing that we have to always know is, there is nothing that is beyond prayer. Amen. You need to be a prayerful parent. Bring these children and talk to them, give them the word and pray with them. That is nourishment that they would feel so comfortable with. And then beyond that, try to identify some income generating activities that can be done from home. If they are wired to do business, that's not something that would be able now to say, if I give them exposure to money, they will start doing bad things. Start mentoring them from that age and let them feel that they are also doing something productive. And if they feel that kind of embracement, then we are going to curb a number of challenges that we are already seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Benson. As we come to a close, what is the one tip you would like to share to the parents tonight?
I would like to tell the parents, bringing up children through the way of the Lord it's something that I would encourage. The Bible says in the book of Job 28:28, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. We need wisdom.
Yes.
We need knowledge and we need understanding. If we are not able now to combine the three, then we'll have gaps. Let us try to bring a cohesive society that would be able to be future parents who can look upon the other generations that we are waiting for. If we don't multiply that intergenerational breakthrough, then we are going to have problems and solving problems, and at the end of the day, we will not have a society. So what I would be able to tell my fellow parents, it's for us to be able to look at the levels of socialization that I talked about.
Yes.
Let us look at the church, let us look at the community, the family, and the schools. And if we are able now to bring that interlinkage, we would have a society that would grow up knowing that they have another generation to take care of.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Pastor Benson.
Yes.
Thank you for coming to our show and discussing these matters concerning the teens. It's been awesome. I know the topic of parenting teenagers, we can talk forever and ever, but we have a short time, so thank you for coming on set. Family, I hope you have been blessed. I hope you have been inspired and you've taken a few tips with you. If you're having challenges raising your teenager, you have been blessed tonight. Thank you and may God bless you. See you next Saturday, the same time, 8 to 9 p.m. here at JBN TV. God bless you and good night.
JBN, the Glory